It's possible you don't know.
What? What could I possibly not know? He was an alcoholic. He got clean.
You never wondered why then? Why'd he get clean then, Chloe?
I don't know. Maybe he was trying to get his life together.
What father are you remembering? Mom made him. He got into bed with me, Chloe.
What are you talking about?
He fell off the wagon, and Mom didn't know, but I did. And he stumbled upstairs, drunker than usual one night. And I was sleeping. He came in. He thought I was Mom, and he tried to put his dick in me,
Jesus
Chloe.
Christ, Nikki, don't talk about him like that.
It took me screaming and punching him for him to realize who I was. And then he begged me not to tell Mom. But I walked right down that hall. And it's the wisest decision I ever made. And Mom gave him an ultimatum. And that's why she put locks on the doors, Chloe.
Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
Today, we are covering Prime Video's new show, The Better Sister, Season 1, Episodes 4 and 5, titled Gazpacho and Just Ask. Please note this is a spoiler-filled podcast, so if you haven't watched the episodes and don't want to be spoiled, just come back and check us out after you've finished watching. And as we've mentioned, all the episodes are out there, but we are still sticking to 2 episodes a week. But the way it's going to break down, we've got 6 and 7 that we'll cover next week. And then we'll have 1 episode devoted to the finale. So episode 4 was written by Brittany Dushame and Lauren Strimmel and was directed by Azazel Jacobs. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And episode 5 was written by Regina Corrado and directed by Dawn Wilkinson. Mandy, what are the synopsis for these episodes?
Okay, episode 4, Catherine throws a memorial for Adam that no one wants to attend. Probably because they're confused about why his wife's boss is throwing a memorial. Chloe and Nikki have very different memories of just about everything.
That's an understatement.
Mm-hmm. Episode 5, Nikki tries to shake off a bad night, and Chloe tries to figure out what Adam was up to when he died, and the trial begins.
All right, yay or nay? I'm a yay on this one. This is the episode that really, it broke my heart. Learning, we'll get into it, but it gave some great insight into why both of these sisters are how they are and who they are and why their relationship is so strained. I gained a whole lot more compassion for Nikki and how she ended up on the path that she was on. I just freaking phenomenal acting by these women. I really, really liked this one.
Yeah, it was a yay for me. I mean, it was difficult. We were just talking about this before we started. It was difficult to make notes because so much of these 2 episodes are character development, but and it was a strange week to be watching both of these for me.
Oh my gosh. I thought about you when I rewatched last night, was taking my notes. I almost texted you and was like, do you want to give this a few more days?
We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Anyway, it was very interesting. I think that they are doing a fantastic job with both of these roles. I think every time you think that you have these girls pegged, you find out something that's kind of a layer upon a layer upon a layer of how they got to be where they're at now. And it's not always comfortable to watch, but it's very good TV.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so we start with this weird dream, I guess it was, about the funeral. Present day Chloe is there and she's talking to her dad, much like Nikki does when she's having her little visions, which I thought was a flashback at first. But then he's making fun of their mom having to talk to all these people. And he says some really crappy things about Nikki. And then little Ethan, shows up and asks her to hold this gun. And she wakes up out of the dream.
Yeah, all of that was crazy. I hate Chloe. I'm going to say that a lot over the next 2 episodes.
You text me that a lot.
Yeah, I did. These episodes really made me very difficult for me to connect with her character and give her a whole lot of empathy at all, or sympathy, either one. I just not a Chloe fan. I'm hoping that she's going to redeem herself, but I think that yeah, a lot of what we learned in these episodes was that Chloe saw an opportunity to take her sister's life because she thought she could do it better. And she did.
Yeah, I don't know that I agree that it was that malicious.
I don't think it was planned. I think she lied to herself. Like, I think that's what you're seeing, is that she's starting to realize that.
Yeah. There's a lot that she says in this episode that in her head, she did the right thing. I don't know. We'll get into it. There's so much to unpack. So I'm just going to kind of, like we usually do, go through each person's major highlights and then get to the sisters together. And then we'll talk a minute about the wake, which was the worst wake on the planet, I think.
I mean, I don't know how you could say that, Becky. What wake planned by your estranged wife's boss wouldn't represent you fully as a human being?
Yeah. Fair point. Yeah, that was just awkward. Which brings us to when Chloe goes to see Catherine. Catherine is pissed that she did not tell her about Nikki being Ethan's mom. And the comment Catherine makes where she says, "You didn't think you were safe with me. All the dark things you know about me, you did not let me in on this." And to me, that's in this episode. You start seeing Chloe after her conversation with Nikki at breakfast about mom and the doors, which we'll get to. But she really seems like her whole life, she's been constantly making excuses for her actions and why that she's doing the things she's doing, even though she knows they're not the most honest or right thing to do. But she will do anything she can to justify her choices. And then Catherine's like, "We're going to have this wake." And Chloe's like, "We'll see how the day goes." And Catherine's like, "No, well, it's going to end up at my house. We'll see you there."
Right. Like, she's very much the boss in that moment. And I feel better about Catherine that over the last 2 episodes, though. Like, I was fully ready to write her off as just a complete opportunist before the last 2 episodes. And some of this kind of bleeds into episode 5, so I don't want to jump ahead, but just the way that she puts Chloe in her place over these 2 episodes and explains to her, like, the difference in how they operate in this white man's world it's really interesting. But that was the start of it, was like, no, I go to bat for you, but here's how the game is played, and you're going to show up and you're going to play this part.
Yeah, that's very well said. I do like her daughter, Janie, and I picked up pretty early. As soon as Janie met Nikki, I was like, Janie wants Nikki.
Janie is Sal from Modern Family.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
She was giving me real strong Sal vibes, which was Elizabeth Banks' character, if anybody remembers, from Modern Family. She was just like trying to get in where she fit in, man.
I'm raising him gay. Oh, anytime somebody mentions Elizabeth Banks, that's what I hear in my head. I love her so much.
Me too.
So Chloe makes a call to push Adam to get cremated, which kind of seemed out of left field that she just all of a sudden decided that. I feel like there's more to that we may find out later, or was it just a...
Yeah, I don't know, because if I were inclined to think that she was the one that did it, I would immediately pick up on that and think, that's odd. There's something she doesn't want them to know. But I think that's a red herring. I think they're just trying to throw us off. I just genuinely don't think she did it. And I don't know any other reason, like, why she would. I mean, everybody knows how he died. So I don't think there's any real nefarious purpose there. I think they're just trying to throw us off with that. I almost wrote that down as a clue, but I don't buy it.
Yeah, because it comes up later, and I was like, I don't understand if the investigation is done and the body's been released to the family, then it makes sense to me that you would call and get this process rolling rather than just having it sitting there. So I agree with you. So she goes to visit Jake, and this is part 2 on her spinning story. She goes to him and she's like, I owe you, I don't know how she put it, but like, I owe you an explanation of everything, and goes on to spin her story of talking about Nikki's issues and addictions. And I hate how she called it a curse, Winky Finger's curse, and that she somehow managed to avoid it, and literally said that she was perfect. So it's obvious that she genuinely does not see
that she's in deep denial, because while Nikki is obviously very much a blackout drunk, she's had issues where her drinking, as we see, we get more evidence about that through these episodes. But Chloe doesn't need to be talking with all these horses missing their hair around here.
Oh my God.
To quote Friday, she is obviously struggling with drinking. She's just a more functioning alcoholic and very clearly has eating disorder.
She's just all around one giant mental health issue walking.
Right.
And she's judging her sister.
Exactly. Because it makes her feel better. It makes her feel more in control.
Well, if she believes in everything that she's saying and she continues to tell it and people believe it, it makes her feel like she's not in the wrong.
Right.
And that is something that is evident, is that Chloe cannot be in the wrong.
Right. And appearances mean everything to her. I'm kind of like a little bitter going into these. Like, I got some deep feelings about Chloe. She made me real mad over these 2 episodes. She doesn't give a crap. No, I'm not going to say that. She loves Ethan. Like, I think it's clear that she loves Ethan, but I think that it is also very clear that she has talked herself into believing that she has created her entire life to serve and be there for Ethan and then for the people and all of that. But like, her addiction to social media, the way that she frames her family dynamic and offers her sister up as a sacrifice, and the way that she just seems completely blind to her own issues, makes me think that that is her defining characteristic as a person.
Yeah.
She's going to do what she's going to do, and she's going to justify it in her head and make herself the good person, the better sister.
Yeah.
There it is. Ding, ding, ding.
That was brilliant.
Thank you.
As she's leaving Jake's, I think this was a big, important thing. She sees the messages to Bill about checking Adam's house for stuff, and that comes to a head a little bit later. And then she gets back to the New York house, and Artie is there. And I was watching him very closely to see if I picked up any shady vibes. And I still don't think he's shady.
Oh, I 100. Even more so now.
Because he was going off on that paparazzi, and he turned the tip money down, which I guess, based on your theory, he could have called the paparazzi, but he didn't know she was coming home. Well, I guess he did because she met him out there. I don't know. And maybe he turns down the tip money because he's getting money from the paparazzi. But I want to believe he's good.
I think there was even more evidence this time, the way that certain frames were shot and some of the heavy-handedness with the way that he was like defending the family, and just like little glimpses. He's not this benign character that he can get dirty and violent. I totally think he's been selling them out to the paparazzi. I see it even more in these 2 episodes. I do think that that's an interesting thing you said, though, is that maybe that's why he turned down that tip, because he was like feeling a little bit, I think he probably feels a little bit guilty. One of the things that is really evident is a theme of this show is that no one is perfect and no one is all evil either.
Yeah, that's true. Everyone is a walking gray area.
Yes.
It's the best way I could describe it.
Yeah, I think this show is one of the overarching themes is no one is a saint. We're all just muddling through life, and sometimes we're better and sometimes we're worse.
Yeah. So I just want to know when she's packing up Adam's stuff and she sniffs his shirt and then she's sniffing Chloe's clothes later. What is it with these people sniffing
Sniff
clothes?
count two. There was sniff count two in this one. I've started a sniff count for every
I
episode.
love that
Yes.
because it's weirded me out.
Yeah, what in the world it's going like at the beginning it didn't bother me so much because I realized it was supposed to show these are very repressed people or there's a lot that's going on under the surface and so it was a way to show like them thinking about the people that were gone, but at this point it's starting to creep me out.
Yeah, it was one thing to sniff your dead husband's shirt, and I understand
Like that
but
one
you
moment.
keep sniffing your sister's clothes, and your sister
Yeah.
sniffing your
Yeah, it's weird.
her ex dead, your husband.
It's just weird.
I did think a lot about you when I saw the scene of them on the patio and they're reminiscing about their first apartment. And he says, "You look thin." And he's like, "You love it when I say that." And she's like, "You're right, I do."
Yeah.
And then she just kind of brushes it off that she doesn't have much of an appetite, which adds to, since you brought up her having an eating disorder there, I'm noticing everything with her with food. And
Yeah.
I back you 100% on that.
Yeah, like even when she was going to visit him, I don't remember if it was this episode or the next episode, but when she was going to visit Ethan, she's taking him snacks. Like that was their whole love language was food and her giving him snacks behind his dad's back, things that she knew he would like. That's how she showed love. Yeah. I think that's just part of like her whole thing of like them trying to show that Nikki is the more obvious basket case, but Chloe's issues are more you have to pay attention to see how she is unhealthily coping with things.
Yeah, Nikki's in your face with
Yeah.
her trauma, and it's all right there
Yeah.
for you to see. But Chloe is very guarded and has like we talked about last week, that coat of armor on.
Yeah.
And you really have to look to see what's going on
Yeah.
behind that.
Yeah.
I thought it was very telling when Adam says the bottomless pit requires constant offering and you give freely.
Yeah.
That is probably the best sentence I could have used to describe how she is.
Yeah.
But it's not selfless.
It's not selfless at all. Have you noticed her obsession with social media?
Oh, yeah.
She acts like she hates it. It doesn't start to bother her, even with the threats on her life, etc. Nothing starts to get to her until she feels like they're threatening her family.
Yeah. Or she's being made to look like the bad guy because she, quote unquote, took her sister's.
Right. Until it's embarrassing. But
Yes.
it presents her as like this strong, powerful woman that people see as a threat and they want to, like when it's that, she's fine with it. It's only when it's something that makes her look weak or embarrassing that she has an issue with.
Yeah. So they talk about how she made more money than him. And he's like, "Oh, you kept count or whatever." And she's like, "Yeah, I did." It's just really opened up my eyes a lot to their dynamic that, yeah, there's no doubt Adam was an asshole, but I don't think Adam was the only bad person in this marriage. I mean,
No,
obviously
me
she was
neither.
having an affair, but I'm talking from how they treated each other scenario. I think she probably gave as good as she got based on these comments.
Yeah, I think there's going to be something coming down the road about how Adam was as a spouse and a parent, an angle about abuse. I don't know exactly how it's going to play out, but I feel like that's coming. But I also think something that seems to be evident about Chloe's personality is it seems like she saw her sister's relationship with Adam and her sister having this child. And for whatever reason, like I said, I kind of have this theory like that her and Adam dated first and then he got together with Nikki, but maybe not. I don't know. But I think that when he and Nikki were married, she saw this life that Nikki had and she had so much contempt for Nikki for being an out of control alcoholic that she had it in her mind that she could do it all better. She could be a better mom to Ethan. She could be a better wife to Adam. And I think that she is very much about drive and ambition. And, that scene where they were in the diner and Nikki was a waitress, and she already had issues. You could see she was day drinking on the job. You could see that Adam was a little bit embarrassed of her. I feel like what she and Adam had, what Chloe and Adam had in common was that they both thought they could do better than Nikki.
Yeah.
And I think that Chloe one-upped even Adam. Like Adam thought that Nikki or that Chloe was the better version of Nikki, but when they get married, I think that whatever he's gotten himself into, I think Nikki has been pushing him to be more and more and more cutthroat and diehard about his career, whatever it takes to get to the top. And that's whenever we find out whatever the secret is about the Gentry group, I think we're going to find out that some of this had to do with Chloe pushing him to get into these situations, and he wanted out. I don't think he was happy performing at that level.
I don't think he got into that situation because she pushed him. I think he was feeling emasculated and that she was basically more successful than him, and he was trying to find a way to up the ante and got himself into trouble with some bad people and was trying to find a way out of that.
Maybe. I don't think she knows anything about the Gentry group.
Nope.
I just feel like that part of the reason that he is at the firm that he's at and doing all of that is because Nikki was very critical, is not the right word, just ambitious and driven, and wanted him to be ambitious and driven to the same degree that she is. So I just think that was part of the friction in their marriage is all I'm saying.
Yeah. So Michelle calls her and tells her not to comment on the article and that keeping it quiet could work in their favor to get the trial pushed up. And it does work, which we'll find out later. Fast forwarding to the end of the episode where Chloe is by herself, and we'll fill in the gaps when we move on to our next talking points. But Jessica Biel's body, damn.
I know. I'm not loving how much they're taking their clothes off in this show, though. I gotta say.
First, I was like, okay, gratuitous body scene here. But also, if I looked like that and was on a television show, you would probably have to write me up because I would just constantly be coming up with reasons to be half naked because, yeah, y'all go ahead and look at this.
I mean, but again, like we've talked about before, I think I can't remember who, maybe Monique, who said if I look like that, I'd just be grocery shopping naked. That's true, but it's still a choice by the directors and producers. But hey, you know what? One of the only notes, because again, it was very hard to take notes over these two episodes. There's not a lot of clues about who killed Adam per se. It's a lot of like detail about their personality and who they are and their backstory. So I don't remember if it was this episode or the next one, but when the boyfriend takes his shirt off and shows up at the house.
Jake?
Girl, yeah, Jake.
Yeah, Jake looks good.
What's up, Jake?
I mean, they're equal opportunity skin showers.
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm being a little bit biased here because I don't really have a problem with it when it was Jake.
So it kind of clues us in that she sells Nikki out later when she grabs her phone and is pissed that the reporter hasn't posted anything. And then she goes and sits in Adam's car. And I legit thought she was going to attempt to kill herself.
Well, at that point I was hoping because I was real mad at Chloe.
Yeah. Do it.
We buried her. I love that at least she was emotionally honest in that moment about
I mean, she did not mince words when she said that to Jake about they chose to bury her sister.
Her sister, whose life she took over.
Yeah. So she finds an FBI agent's card in the car and calls, and that made me realize it was the FBI agents who were tailing her that day she went to Jake's, not the cops.
Yeah, when you said the cops, I just thought you meant the FBI.
No, I thought it was Borat and Guidry. So
no.
I was a little surprised by that. I was like, okay, so we've got some FBI agents here. So that's all I have for Chloe individually, unless you want to add anything. I'm dying to dive into Nikki because oh my gosh, we learned so much in this episode.
Just fuck Chloe. That's all I want to say.
# fuck Chloe.
Mm-hmm.
So after the girls are in the kitchen together, which we'll get to when we get to their together moments here in just a minute. Nikki is in the car driving like a mad woman, which is hilarious. And I loved the choice of song that she was listening to, which is Crucified by Tori Amos. Well done.
It was very on the nose, almost too perfect for the scene. The lyrics are so very much like Nikki's storyline.
And Chloe's.
Yeah.
I just think it worked for both sisters. But I do want to back up to the flashback we get where Nikki is, I'm guessing, like maybe 11 or 12. And she's at home and her dad comes home and he's like, go to bed. She's working on her arts and crafts and he comes over. I thought he was going to hit her the way he approached her, but he starts making jokes. And then he freaking pours alcohol in her cup, not just a sip, but like fills that cup up. And then when he walks away, stands there and watches her drink it. So we learn Nikki did not just, like Chloe presents it, just start drinking one day and become an alcoholic. Her dad turned her into one. And that is horrifying.
Her dad groomed her.
Yes.
He wanted to create a secret that they had together and also get her used to being incapacitated to a degree that might loosen up her inhibitions and her protective and her natural self-preservation instincts. Yeah, he was yeah.
I want to give Elizabeth Banks an Emmy for her performance at the AA meeting when she is so raw and honest, opening up to these people about, the whiskey hot chocolates, and dad would take them on a drive and it was scary, and how she learned to love that warm feeling that the whiskey gave her in her belly, even though it would make her sick. It became like a crutch, and she justified it for so long because it was their little secret, like you said a second ago. And
yeah, when you have a dad that makes you feel the only use he has for you or is in those moments when you have that little secret together, I mean, that becomes like a very special thing between the two of you. And that's how they work. That's how predators work.
And then she goes on to talk about realizing that her actions are the side of Chloe that Chloe denies, and that, she echoes Chloe's moment. Chloe says they buried Nikki, so to Winky Fingers protect Adam. And she goes on to talk about that Chloe's buried all of the bad, which is her, and doubting, and that she doubts her choice to come there and to support her own son. And that broke my heart. Elizabeth Banks sold that. So the writing was powerful, but her delivery she did a great job. Felt like I was sitting in that meeting with her, and I just wanted to reach through the TV and just hug her.
Yeah. I didn't realize you could go to AA and say, I might still be drunk. Like, she was like, I'm 45 minutes sober. Like,
no, you can. AA meetings, I mean, you might get chastised for showing up intoxicated, but that's, part of the journey for a lot of people is relapse. And I love that she had the wherewithal to get herself there.
Yeah.
But it brings me to my next point, which is Ken, Paul Sparks. And I think he's just so adorably handsome. He's well known for roles on Castle Rock and House of Cards. I like him. I like how he befriends her, but it starts out, I thought, okay, please don't make her fall in love with her AA sponsor and that whole thing. And they have a flirty vibe, but I think the way, just at least in these two episodes, the way she leaned on him and the way he was there for her is developing into what could be a really cool story. But I love what he said to her about holding on to secrets and that it's like slow poison, and he encourages her to open up to Chloe and tell her what really happened. And it made me so sad that her whole concern is again Chloe, And I don't think she's ready for that. Not this would benefit me, this would help me, but I don't think Chloe's ready to hear that. And that just, it opened my eyes to that they've painted Nikki in this selfish, arrogant way, but she really is just trying to be better. That's all she's trying to do is be better.
Yeah. I still think she and Ethan together kind of are my prime suspect. If they didn't do it, I still feel like she thinks that they did do it.
She goes to visit Ethan in prison, and more praise Nikki moment when she talked to him about therapy and was so like he seemed ashamed to say that they assigned him a therapist.
Oh yeah, I think he very much grew up in a household where he was told to bury all of it and never talk about it, never deal with it, never process it, never be honest with the therapist.
And she was so raw again, so honest and raw, and tells him, you don't want to hold on to secrets and stuff. It'll kill you. And the most important thing is you show up and get yourself in that chair. And how she promised him that she would be there every chance that they let her in. I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. That was very sweet. And I'm glad that she's having this time. But I'm also thinking if I'm right and she did this, unless they did it together, like, come on, Nikki, how are you justifying that? I don't know. It's one of the arguments I have against her doing it because I'm like, I don't know how she could stand to look at her son and know that she did this, but he's the one paying the price for it. Because I genuinely think she loves her kid.
Yeah. I'm not going to elaborate too much on that because part of your theory, I have to eat crow when we get to miscalculations because Mandy was right about one thing.
I'm very excited.
I know you are, and I deserve it. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yep, I'm going to be eating crow next week. So, but when we get to that moment, I still do not at all agree that Nikki killed Adam or had anything to do with Adam's death. But you were right about something else. When she slams the locker on her way out and the cop gives her the side eye and she's like, oh, fuck off.
Nikki hates her a cop. We are recording this on June 14th. Today's 14th, right?
Uh-huh.
Which is what a lot of people are calling No King's Day around this country. And I went to a protest this morning and there was a woman standing next to me that had real strong Nikki vibes because every time the cops would drive by, she would start yelling, abolish ICE, abolish ICE. And these are just like Metro cops. They're not ICE whatsoever. You can tell like she had some real strong feelings about law enforcement. And that's the vibe you get with Nikki. Like she's had enough of cops. Thank you for the rest of her life.
Oh, that's funny. So fast forward to the end of the episode and Nikki gets home and I was for a second worried that she was about to attempt to kill herself too. But I love how the writers and directors of this show have these women in two completely separate scenes experiencing a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah.
They're doing it so well with each one of these episodes. And I love that. And Chloe's having her flashbacks in the car, waking up and realizing that, oh shit, Nikki was telling the truth. And then Nikki getting home after she's fallen off the wagon and
hooked up with a really hot caterer.
Hey, Nate. I didn't hate Nate at all.
I'm just saying, as coping mechanisms go,
Nate's not a bad way to go.
Nate's not the worst way that you can deal with some stuff. Which, by the way, Chloe's doing exactly the same thing with, what's his name?
Jakey.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when she gets in the pool, I don't know what song. I watched the show with subtitles on so I can make sure I catch quotes and things. And it usually gives the title or at least the artist of the song. And it didn't with this one, but I thought that song they chose to play over both of these women going through their separate moments it just added so much to the intensity. And You think she hears something and it's like, oh, that mystery of, oh my gosh, who's there? And she turns around and it's her dad. And she's like, oh, hell no. And she turns around and then there's Adam and she's like stuck in between these two men that basically shaped, changed, and controlled her life for so long. And all she can do is just sink into the water.
Yeah, the ghost thing is getting a little strange for me, but I'm just trying to kind of go with the flow and look at it as like magical realism, that there's something they're trying to show there. But that further led me to believe Nikki at least thinks that she had something to do with his death, because the look that he gave her, like Adam, I mean, it was very like, I know what you did, or you're in trouble, or I'm still a threat to you. I can't find the right way to phrase it, but I definitely think that that was more indication that at least Nikki thinks that she killed him. I'm now leaning towards something happened with Nikki and Ethan. They left, and then maybe somebody came in after them and were the ones that really killed him. I don't know. Definitely think Nikki thinks that she did, though.
I just don't see how she can think she did it.
I don't know, man. I don't know. There's a lot going on.
Fair enough.
That's why
Who
we're not
knows?
paid to write this.
Oh gosh. Okay. So next moments are Nikki and Chloe together. And there's the scene in the kitchen when Chloe comes out, and I just started to crack me up that Nikki's always got the music playing and Chloe's always shutting it down. And Chloe shares her dream about the funeral with Nikki and starts talking about their mom. And Chloe says, oh, and mom, remember when mom put locks on the doors when we started our periods? And Nikki's face when she said that, I was like, oh, there's something big here. And Nikki's like, you really see things differently. And you could see the wheels churning in Nikki's head, that she's getting closer to the moment where I feel like she wants to shake Chloe and be like, wake up. Another moment where I felt really bad for Nikki is when she expresses to Chloe, am I missing something? Did you genuinely tell nobody about me?
Yeah, it was very hard. That was a hard thing to watch, when she recognized that they literally had written her out of existence after taking over her life. I very much don't like Chloe.
I'm not a fan of her right now either. I don't hate her, but because I don't think she comes by.
I think she has her own pain and trauma, and that is why she is the way she is. I just identify more with Nikki, and I really
Yes, fair.
have a very hard time empathizing with Chloe and what she's done.
That's fair.
I think Chloe was about Chloe her entire life, and Nikki seems to have lived most of her life trying to be everything for everyone else. And it destroyed her. I mean, she didn't do it well. She ended up a rotten mess, and it cost her everything. But I think that she was also never supported by anyone.
Yeah.
Even her mom.
I really thought we were headed for a sweet moment when, even though Nikki's like, I don't want to go to this wake, and Chloe forces her to go. And then I'm also very, fuck you, Chloe, for forcing this woman to go. And then she wants to leave, and you want to leave. And she's like, no, I'm staying.
I feel like that's how every executive for the restaurant company that we used to work for, that was the fine dining place, felt after they forced me to go to an opening.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't go full Nikki, but I feel like they got a clue really quick that I was not exactly made to move in their set. Let's just put it that way.
Right.
I just have never been good at filtering myself, and I don't fit in that crowd. And I think that I very much identified with how Nikki felt in that moment before she even started drinking, of just, these people are all phony. Everything about them is phony. This entire life is phony. And I don't know how to do this. And I'm not going to do this. Yeah.
That sweet moment I thought we were going to get with them doing their hair. And did you notice the absolute fear on Nikki's face when she decides to tell Chloe that Ethan's starting therapy?
Yeah.
Like, so afraid to say, like, she's walking on eggshells around her sister. And that what we learn, it just Oh, it makes me so angry.
Yeah, like when you were talking last time about how you felt like that first episode where she, or was the first or second episode where she said something to the effect of, I'm not going to go to a hotel unless Ethan comes with me. I didn't feel like she was really lording it over her in that moment. I thought that was more of a like, I'm just putting a boundary down. But I definitely think she was really hurt in that moment. And when she said, I'm going to go see Ethan, that was a dig. Like, I
Yeah,
can go see him and you can't. But I feel like it genuinely came from just such a place of pure hurt. I couldn't help but understand why she would be like that because it genuinely was her only weapon.
Yep. So Nikki opens up about, she's done therapy and she asks Chloe if she's done therapy and she says she's done therapy, winky fingers along the way. And I'm glad she described the tapping thing because it's called the emotional freedom technique. Thank you, Chloe, for clearing that up. I guess I could have Googled it, but I didn't. I liked how Nikki said, well, how's that working out for you? But she says that Ethan did go a couple of times, but that he decided he didn't need it. I don't think Ethan decided he didn't need it. I think Adam and Chloe decided that they didn't want him to be doing it, so told him he didn't need it. And I think the only reason he went is because it probably happened when he got busted with the gun at school,
Right.
and it was mandated that he go
Right.
to therapy.
Yeah, I very much think that's part of why I'm so F you, Chloe. I genuinely think that as much as she keeps talking shit about how her whole motivation is Ethan, I think that she has wanted a ready-made family and Ethan came along with that and she's convinced herself that she's always thought of Ethan first, but it's horseshit. I think that she gave Ethan food in place of actual security and safety and protection and looking out for him. And I think that she didn't want him in therapy either because I think there's a lot of secrets in that family and she didn't want Ethan telling anybody about them.
I agree.
But I think she feels guilty about it, unlike Adam.
No, she definitely does when she goes to visit Ethan and he makes the comment that he feels comfortable in his own skin now that he's on the medication and she's like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She didn't do enough and
Yeah.
she realizes that now.
Well, I think she's starting to. I think she's still kind of protecting herself a bit, but I do think that she's seeing now. I don't think she ever was completely blind to it. And I think that's the difference between a redeemable character and an irredeemable character. I think Adam was the driving force behind the emotional abuse and the neglect. And I think she just went along with it because it was in her best interest to hide their secrets or what have you as well. But I think she did a better job of like lying to herself about what her motivations were about that. But I think deep down, she always knew that it was not fair to, because I do think she loves Ethan. And I think that deep
Yeah.
down, she knows it was never fair to him. But it doesn't excuse that she went along with it.
Right. I think you can love someone and also not do the right things for them.
Right.
And that is Chloe.
Right.
So it pissed me off too when Nikki is opening up to her sister about how hard it is and how long it's taken her to start being able to work through her shit. And then Chloe makes that comment, it's always recovery porn with you people, and snaps that their childhood wasn't that bad. And it just highlighted the difference in memories and realities that those two have is wild. It's funny, you can all live under the same roof, but you can see things quite differently. And I'm proud of Nikki for coming out and being honest about why dad got sober. Because Chloe's thinking, well, he just got sober because he wanted to get better. And she tells him the truth.
Right. It wasn't a choice he made, which I think partly influences the way that Chloe looks at things, that she thinks that, you know, her father was strong enough to beat alcoholism and Nikki wasn't. And that's part of what lets her look down on Nikki. But the reality was, A, we don't even know that he really did get sober, just that he got better. But also, B, not wanting to confront the reasons behind why that really happened. But also, this is where I will say, I'm still pretty mad at their mother. Okay, you forced him to go into rehab, but he still tried to molest your daughter. He still tried to rape his own daughter. I just don't feel like a lock on the door and he got to go to rehab is a good
No,
enough reaction to that.
no, it I agree. She should have yanked both of those girls out of the house immediately. But I think that goes a long way
With just the sickness of this
to give us
family.
some insight. And I mean, we talked a lot about this with the pit and that lady who is giving her husband progesterone,
Mm-hmm.
so he wouldn't want to touch their child, and how poorly she handled that. This is just another one of those situations, and it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's hard for me to be dispassionate about it, but I do know that human beings can love someone very much and still make mental accommodations because they have to accept that people they also love have done these terrible things. It's just really hard for me to be dispassionate about that. And I just think that lady, I don't know, like I'm mostly sympathetic to the mom from what we've seen, but the fact that she didn't take them out of the house, I hope we explore that a little bit more in one of the next few episodes.
Yeah, I feel like as much as they've given us with the relationship with Nikki and Chloe and their dad, we've gotten a few hints of mom, but I feel like it would be a nice payoff for them to give us more of that story, because it's
Yeah,
obvious that, Nikki had a very different relationship with their dad than Chloe did, and it's obvious Chloe had a very different relationship with the mom than Nikki did. So I would really like
yeah,
to see, just give us a few flashbacks of that, like they've done with the dad.
yeah. There definitely seems to be more to that because you don't really know how Nikki feels about their mom, know a lot about how she feels about her dad. Chloe seems to hold her mother in contempt and yet seems to have been completely unaware that her father was a predator. So I want to know more about why she has such contempt for her mother. Like, what was it about her mother that made her feel so dismissive?
Yeah. Well, Chloe doesn't take this news very well about dad crawling in bed with her, thinking it was their mother. And it makes excuses for his behavior, that it was an accident. He didn't mean to. And I'm like, that doesn't matter. This happened to your sister.
Yeah, and I know that's how Chloe told the story, but I honestly am wondering when we're going to hear the rest of that because why was he giving her alcohol? He was clearly grooming her. I don't buy, and I honestly don't think that Chloe buys that it was an accident and that he thought that she was their mother. I know that's what she said, but I don't think she believes that, and I don't think that's the whole story.
I believe it. Nikki is not, to me, it's never, not once in this series has said something she did not mean or that wasn't honest. So I believe that that's what happened. He got blackout drunk and he came home one night and crawled into her bed, and because she said, I had to punch him until he woke up and realized what was going on, and then he panicked.
Yeah.
And, so I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe Nikki that that's how it happened. But I just thought it was really sad that your sister just opened up to you and told you a very traumatic thing that happened to her. And instead of even giving her a freaking hug, you chastise her for bringing this up now with everything that's going on, and then make excuses for his behavior. And I'd never been so happy for Borat to ring the doorbell than I was then, because I was getting really pissed with that.
Yeah, me too.
So I love that Gidry is a softball coach and that Borat shaved off his mustache, but I'm going to be honest, I don't think it helped.
He definitely looked less Borat-y.
I still, that's all I can see now. That's what's in my head. It made me laugh that Gidry was talking about coaching the girls. I'm getting them when they're young before they come wretched bitches. There wasn't a lot of humor in this episode, but that was a very good, made me chuckle line. So the whole reason he goes to see the girls is because he wants to take back the ring. So it makes that ring, and they even flash back to it at the end of the episode. He said he hung on to the ring as long as he could. why? There has to be something about that, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not getting that.
Well, he was very concerned that she wanted the body cremated, or not very concerned, but he seemed suspicious.
Right. I would have been too.
But they're done with it. And he
Yeah,
mentioned
but
that he went to see dead Adam to follow up on a hunch. And then he talks about there's an angle from the police that we aren't seeing, something that we have not been let in on, because there is a secret there. There has to be, for them to have made such a big deal about this cremation, that ring, and I need to know about this hunch he has, why he went back to see dead Adam.
yeah, I don't know that there's not something there. I feel like the cremation thing is a red herring, though. I do think that it would be perfectly logical for investigators to be concerned about why you were pushing for cremation so quickly, but I don't think it's going to pan out to anything. The ring thing, though, I can't really grasp where they're going with that.
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be something.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a feeling on what they're trying to do with that yet. If it genuinely is just like I'm holding on to it because it's an excuse to keep having conversations, or if there's something about that ring that's going to be significant, I don't know yet.
That's possible that it's just an excuse. I didn't think about that. All right, so we go to the wake, and oh my God, Nikki bringing the gazpacho and telling Catherine, thank you for this to do. I loved it.
Because it's so weird, but I also want to know what Gazpacho had because the name of the episode was Gazpacho.
Well, all she wanted was to have gazpacho that night with Chloe and hang out. That was why gazpacho was so important. And I
Yeah,
loved her telling Catherine she didn't have to heat it up.
but I thought she made Gazpacho specifically for this thing.
No, 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 no. She was making gazpacho when Chloe came back from visiting Catherine
Oh,
and told
okay.
her we have to go to this thing. And she was
Right,
like,
you're
"Oh, okay,
right.
well, I'll bring
I'll bring the
I'll bring the
gazpacho.
gazpacho." And Chloe's like, "Please don't." And she does. And Catherine's like, thanks.
Like maybe if I'd have eaten gazpacho, I don't know. That whole thing just was weird to me.
It's like cold soup. I've had it once and I don't care to have it again, but I don't know. Maybe gazpacho is a family thing that they used to do together. I don't
Well,
know.
or maybe like it's a very complex recipe. I genuinely don't know, but maybe it's like something that really is a labor intensive process that was a real work of love, and that was what the whole sacrifice was about. Because without really knowing about gazpacho, it just kind of felt like I'll make a salad and bring it, and then nobody liked her salad. So I just wasn't clear on why that was the name of the episode. I feel like there's something there I'm missing. If there's any gazpacho lovers out there, please.
Yeah, write in. Tell us what you think.
Yeah.
All right, so both sisters have freakouts in the bathroom. Nikki's is when we first get there. I think she's just completely overwhelmed being surrounded by all these people. And then Chloe's is after she sees Nikki drinking and she can't Nikki or Chloe cannot control what's happening. Catherine's in
Yeah.
control. She's losing her place in the company as Catherine puts it, for a little
Yeah.
while things get sorted out, but we know how that goes. And can't control Nikki, and she's scared of where Nikki's headed, which I think is why she goes to Nikki and says it's time to go, and that they have a trial date. And Nikki says, "Oh, why does it start tonight?" Because they have tiny tiramisu at this party. And then her sarcasm about being there and celebrating Adam. And Chloe's like, she can't control anything. So she has
Yeah.
her freak out. And that's why she goes to Sid and tells Sid her version of the truth about Nikki, which will come out in next episode.
Yeah. You know what? I'm glad you put that really much better than I laid down through the episode that even with all of that, after everything, I kind of took away from that Chloe was kind of coming unglued as well, and that's why she was sharing. But no, she was just still trying to attempt to control the narrative. She
Yep.
was still throwing her sister under the bus.
Yep.
Mm, I hate Chloe.
Hashtag fuck Chloe.
Yes. Yes.
Only note I have on Ethan, because we talked about him quite a bit with the visits with Nikki and whatever, but he got beat up in prison. I thought it was interesting. He said that it was a learning curve and he won't let it happen again.
I saw the
don't.
look on Nikki's face when he said that, and you could tell that she felt really crappy that he was having to learn that lesson.
Y'all can't see it, but I've been looking at my notes and I just look up and Mandy's painting her nails right now.
Yeah.
That's still a beautiful color.
Well, thank you.
Girl's multi-talented.
I am.
Final points, field notes. So we find out from creepy ass Bill, who would not stop being in Chloe's face when she's obviously trying to get away from him, that the Gentry group is staying with Bill's law firm. And she tells Jake to go F himself. And Jake's like, what did I do?
I hope that he turns out to be a real scumbag, because if not, it's yet another thing that I want to punch Chloe in the face over. The way that she talks to him, I just don't get it.
I think she can control him. She did not have a lot of control in her marriage with Adam. And here's this guy who obviously we find out later.
She's going to be emotionally and mentally abusive to him?
Yes.
Because Chloe sucks.
Well, we've established that.
Yes. We have. I'm very much on the fuck Chloe train this week.
All right. So that's all I've got on this episode. Final thoughts. The story itself didn't move forward as far as who done it. But like you said earlier, it was great character development and some phenomenal freaking acting by these two incredible women. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I don't know if enjoyed is the word. I thought that it was a very good episode. The acting was top notch. I enjoyed the plot line as much as I'm having a hard time articulating anything but anger about it. Because mostly, like, just very angry about the way that Nikki got shafted. It definitely gave us much more insight into who these people were before this event popped off at the beginning. So it was a good episode.
All right. So episode 5, we get a really cool flashback of Nikki and Adam in the beginning. Do you think she was pregnant yet?
I didn't really notice. I'll have to go back and watch that. When she was at the restaurant.
At the diner, yeah.
Yeah, she might have been. I mean, her getting pregnant would make sense about why they got married.
Yeah.
Because they were already very mismatched.
Yeah. But Adam really seemed to love her. And she seemed, even though she's drinking little mini bottles during her shift, they seemed like they were in as good a place as I guess.
Well, they were in a relationship. Obviously, there must have been a happy point at one point. And I think it was the episode before this where she said, he definitely had me pegged and I definitely had him pegged. And that wasn't exactly what she said, but it was something like he knew exactly who I was. And I was totally right about who he was. I think that it makes sense that maybe she got pregnant. They started dating briefly. She got pregnant and that's how they ended up getting married. But I also think before he died, we're going to end up finding out that, like, later on when she says some stuff about their relationship and where they were at, and she kind of alludes to, we don't really know where we were at. I think what we're going to find out is, yes, he was attracted to her. You could tell that, like, they had obviously some sort of not miserable marriage. I think it's going to turn out before he died, they were messing around with each other again. I think that's what all that sniffing is about and all of that. I think he knew how to manipulate both of these women, even though I think he did have a lot of contempt for Nikki.
Yeah.
And that was obvious in that scene. Like, even there, you could tell he had a lot of contempt for Nikki.
I don't know that contempt is the word I would use. I feel like he was disappointed or concerned or even a little sketched out that, oh God, am I making the right decision? But I did not at all see it contempt.
I just think it's going to turn out that most of what we're going to see when we get more into like the secrets that these people are keeping is that there were a lot of things he could have done about his concern for Nikki that didn't involve
Paul and
taking her
Chloe.
child and bailing in the marriage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think he was embarrassed by Nikki, but if he loved Nikki and were truly concerned for Nikki, then they would have gotten her help and then been there trying to wait for her once she got out, not moving on to her sister. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm not doubting Adam's a shitty person. I just, in that moment, I didn't see that he had contempt.
And I'm putting that together with other things. Like if that moment had just happened, irrespective of everything else that you see with flashbacks of him, then it would just seem on the surface like it was just he's very concerned about his wife who's waiting tables and helping him get through law school and all of that, and that he's just genuinely concerned. But learning what we do later and everything, I think it was more embarrassment for his public image than anything.
Yeah. So we start with Chloe. Catherine makes a comment to her that Sid is going to hold the article closer to trial. And going through Nikki's stuff, she finds that authorization form for Ethan to go on antidepressants. And that ended up going very differently when she confronts Nikki about it. And she just looks at Nikki and she says, okay.
Yeah.
If
I was
you're going to
surprised by
make
that.
these decisions, I'd just like to have not ask me first, but she said, I'd like to have a discussion first. That was very un-Chloe-like. I was very happy that she didn't make Nikki feel bad about it. And then instead of saying, that's not your choice to make, she was just like, I'd just like to have a talk about it first. I liked that moment.
Yeah.
Thought it was funny when she goes to the store and she sees Kevin, and this makes me rethink my theory that Kevin killed Adam. This conversation made me, and his testimony made me think differently. She basically tells him, Ethan covered for you a lot, and I'm not asking you to lie to the police. I'm just asking when the time comes, if you're asked, to remember the good things about Ethan, which I liked her going and championing him. And she didn't threaten him. She wasn't a bitch about it. She was just like, if you are called to the stand, just please remember all the good things about him. And it ended up paying off in the trial when he does get up to testify. He does talk about good things about Ethan.
Yeah.
So she checks the online haters again and actually engages this time. Then shirtless Jake pops in. She's like, Jesus, put some clothes on. And I was like, no, he doesn't need to put some clothes on, Chloe.
Quit worrying about what he does, Chloe. Tired of you telling Jake that he can't be hot and shirtless. He did look weird. Was that slacks he was wearing?
It was a wetsuit.
Why was he wearing the wetsuit?
Because it was folded down. Because he's a swimmer. Remember, he's in the ocean a lot. And when it's
okay,
it's not uncommon for surfers, swimmers, and whatnot to be wearing wetsuits, especially when the water temperature is cooler.
Ugh, that reminds me when she went into the car scene in the last episode where you were talking about you thought Chloe might be going to kill herself. I saw that surfboard there and I was like, ugh, of course Adam's a surfer.
That could have been Ethan.
I don't think it was Ethan. I think it was Adam, and he was just a typical upper white, middle class white boy who was like, I surf. Sometimes I surf. It's no big deal. I just like to catch some waves.
So he asks why she's not answering the calls. And I missed the thing where she saw on the phone that he told someone about their affair.
Yeah, he told Bill.
But it wasn't Bill. He told some guy named Chuck.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. Exactly. That's what I'm asking.
I thought that she was saying that you told Bill, like she assumed that he had told Bill that because of what she read on the phone, where he said he was at the house. And, oh, no, that was all about he was talking to Bill, and she was like, I can't believe you told Bill about us. And he said, no, I told Chuck. Chuck is Bill's boyfriend or husband.
Oh, that's who Chuck is. Okay.
Yeah.
And then he admits he's in love with her, and she's
Yeah.
like, no, get out of here. And Nikki comes in. That it basically ends that conversation. So we don't really know where things stand with Jake at this point.
Well, I can't really hate Chloe that much more, so I really hope it turns out that Jake is a bigger shithead than I think he is. So at least I don't have to hate her for being emotionally abusive to her affair partner.
We'll see.
We'll see.
So she goes to see Ethan and sees the bruises on his face, apologizes for not getting him help sooner. And I really liked that he was honest with her about the medication and how they're making him feel better. And
what else was he honest about, Becky?
That he misses her.
And what else was he honest about in that conversation about what he'd been doing?
Oh, working out.
Talking to Nikki on the burner phone.
Oh, I was getting to that when we get to Chloe and Nikki together.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure.
It's coming.
Okay.
Your moment to rag me like I did you last week.
Okay. I will be nicer.
You lie, but you don't have to be because I deserve it.
Well, because I'm a bigger person.
I was editing last week's episode after I'd watched these 2 episodes, and I was like, oh, I'm in for it. I really laid this on just a little bit too thick. Yeah, so I got it coming. I'm like the chicks in Chicago who killed their husbands. They had it coming. If you'd like to break out in song. All right. So he is happy seeing Nikki and says that it's been nice getting to know her. And he admits that they have been in contact with each other and that she gave him a phone at their dad's funeral.
Yep.
Go ahead. I was wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't need to beat you over the head with this, Becky. It just happens to all of us sometimes. It does. And I am willing to concede that perhaps occasionally I have been wrong in the past. Last episode about maybe 1 or 2 things. Not this big, but whatever.
Oh, the humility. Oh, you're so humble, Mandy.
Thank you. I'm practically the best at being humble of anybody I know.
Yeah, you really are. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But he does admit Kevin also had the number, which made me rethink, okay, maybe Kevin is in on this. I don't know. I need to know.
I'm not going to discount that Kevin has something to do with it. I'm not willing yet to discount that. I still think that Nikki is involved, though.
I can't wait to get to the end of this because I am just adamant that Nikki didn't have anything to do with it. But you just don't know.
You don't know.
Oh, the show is so good.
Because I don't have any real feeling for it yet, and I keep waiting for this Gentry group stuff to become a bigger deal. And just like last episode, I want to reiterate, the wild card here could be that there is more to this Gentry group shit than I'm seeing or sensing at this point. And it could just be nobody that we've met so far.
Well, to move into my next thing about Chloe, the Gentry group is something because the FBI agent finally calls her back and she lied and said Adam said he was working with y'all before he died and they won't confirm it, but they end up meeting and he asks her if you can find information on the Gentry group, if you can find something and can give them something concrete, then he could give her something that could help the way I understood it, could help get Ethan off the hook.
Oh, I missed that.
Oh, yeah. That was a big outside of the diner where Borat catches them and gets the photos.
Yeah.
He basically said, she's like, what happens if I don't, if I, say something? He's like, well, if you speak to anybody else about this, you'll find yourself in jail. But if you can give me something concrete, then yes, I can do something for you, which I took as help you get your son off the hook.
Oh, okay. I did hear that. I thought that he had said something like concrete about what they knew or could. Yeah, okay. I did see that.
Yeah. So that was interesting, and I'm curious what Borat's going to do with that information. Anything else you got about Chloe?
No, but I want to go back to when the last episode when Gidry was talking about very sexist, like having that conversation about her coaching softball, and she went into that whole thing about getting hit in the mons pubis.
Yes.
I don't really have anything to add to that. I just wanted to say the words mons pubis. And she's not wrong. That hurts like a sumbitch.
It does.
I've never been hit there by a ball, but like riding on a boy's bike when we were little, and you slip on the pedals and rack yourself. Oh my God. Like, I don't know what it feels like when a man does that, but all I can tell you is when a woman does it, it is excruciatingly painful.
It is very painful, and they don't make cups for us.
She is not wrong about that, and I've never thought about that before, but I'm going to add it to my list of bullshit things that happen to women in this world.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right, so on to Nikki. She wakes up very hungover. Oh my God. Her little flashbacks to her time with Nate. I was like, get it, girl.
Nate was get it, Nate.
Nate
was
it.
getting it.
He gave it and he got it, and I am happy for both of them.
Fit in. Yes. That is not the life I ever experienced. I've just never been that carefree.
Oh, I've had a couple of those.
Not that I didn't have my moments. I just have never been that. It takes me a minute to warm up to people. I can't just be leaving. At no point could I just be leaving a party with you and be like, all right.
I'm not saying I've done it, but I'm not saying that I haven't.
You're not saying you've not done
it, but I'm just saying memories.
I'm not judging, and as you well know, I am also not a saint. That's not my vibe.
I'm like Princess from The Pit when she's talking to Robbie's kid and reminiscing about that concert that she went to. That's me right now.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So enough about that. She goes to the bar, and you mentioned talking about last episode, how the ghost thing is starting to get to be a little bit much. This was a little bit much.
Yes.
Because I don't understand. So she sits down and there's this guy next to her, right? And
is he God? Is he real? Is he even there?
Right. And obviously he's not completely real because her dad won't talk to her or won't appear to her when she's loaded.
I almost got
But he's the one who made her an alcoholic.
Right.
None of that computed to me. The only thing I liked about that scene was when she says, "Can I touch him?" And she grabs his hand, and the look of just utter peace and relief and also sadness that Elizabeth Banks emoted in that scene, the acting, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't fully.
The acting was great. I don't really get the scene. Like,
I don't either.
Is that guy the only way I could make it make sense was that guy was God, the old man, and that she was talking to God and he was allowing her to access her father through him. But I also think he's a construct.
I thought he was like her grandfather. And he was the conduit between her and her dad. That's all I could think of.
I don't know. I'm willing to give it some time and see if this comes back and gets explained later. But if it doesn't, that's just kind of a clunky part in the storytelling, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was weird. definitely weird, and I don't think it was completely necessary, but maybe it'll amount to something.
Yeah.
I like that she's listening to Ken's audiobook, even though she clowned him about it. And it's obvious it's having some kind of effect on her. And then I thought it was interesting. He's talking about red, and then she spots that blood on the rug. And so she goes to the store and runs into Gidry. Do you think that was accident or planned on Gidry's part?
I think that was accident.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought that was just showing that that was just a run-in they had together.
I did love the perimenopause conversation, and
I loved that.
she's like, I'm doing just fine, but they sell lube at the counter.
That was funny. But before that, I was cracking up because she was like, honey, 3 fans are just excessive. That is my husband. Because I am hot on the inside. Ladies, we don't talk enough about menopause.
Amen.
Let me give you just a real short PSA here. My whole life, what I was taught is you are going through menopause and then you finish menopause and then that's the rest of your life. That is not the case. Perimenopause is the state that you are in as a woman in the years leading up to the point where you are in menopause. When you are in menopause, you are in menopause forever. Menopause is the rest of your life. There are a lot of really cool things about it. You don't have a period anymore. Lots of awesome things that way. For me personally, the biggest problem has been freaking hot flashes. Constant, all the time. There's no real good medication for it. Like, I laughed, Becky, when she said that she's been begging her to take mint primrose.
It helped me.
It didn't help me. I appreciate, though, that you were because that's the thing. We're all individuals. We're all women. This is one of the many ways that we get shafted. Doctors have spent millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars trying to make sure that men can procreate or at least enjoy sex for the rest of their life. You would be stunned to know what we don't know about women's health past the point of sexual reproduction age, where you could viably have a baby. They don't know a lot about menopause. And most of us, we're individuals. It's just like with your period. We're all going to be in different places with it. My mother-in-law never had a hot flash in her life. I have them all the time. And it's like you're on fire on the inside. The way that I describe it is it's like you're blushing 12, 13, 14, 15 times a day.
It is absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
Both our husbands have issues with us, but I have a fan. I have a small fan that blows directly onto my head, and I have a bigger fan that blows directly at my feet, and I will keep the thermostat as low as possible.
Especially at night, it's the worst.
It's brutal, and you will wake up. You will be
just drenched.
Your sheets are drenched. You're drenched. It's just horribly uncomfortable.
Literally, I laughed out loud when she said, I just think 3 fans are excessive, darling.
Yeah.
Eric Walker could have written that. I don't have 3 fans, but I have a huge box fan that I put right on my nightstand. And I mean like a 3-foot by 2-foot box fan that I put on my nightstand and turn on. So it's like an Arctic gale to Eric.
Oh, God, it feels so good, too.
It was wonderful. I would have turned it on right now, but it's too loud.
Anyway, we need to do an episode on
just menopause.
Just menopause. Coming soon. So, Gidry makes some comments, some very leading comments to Nikki about how Chloe stole her life and that Borat found some stuff online that was making Nikki look good. Like, she's stirring the pot.
Right.
And it makes Nikki think, and she goes to look and see what's being said. And that's what brings her to Catherine, which I was very surprised by. But I love that Catherine tells her to stay away from Janie. I knew it. I knew Janie had the hots for Nikki.
Oh, yeah. It was very obvious. Yeah. I love that conversation. I came away from that conversation liking Catherine much more.
Same.
Now I feel like I got her measure. Like, yes, it is a business, and she's trying to tell Chloe at the end of the day, you got to perform because it's cutthroat out here. But I love the way that she was telling her, like white women don't stick together. They will sell each other out. that they will throw each other under the bus for a man, and that what black women do stick together. And I'm not a black woman, but I think there's some truth to that. It's more complex than that. Sometimes it makes me sad. The black women that I know, a lot of them have a much more cynical view of relationships between men and women. They don't ever expect a man, most of them, to take care of them. They have to have a plan to take care of them, their kids, and everybody in their circle that they feel responsible for. So I think she thinks that it's a little bit naive the way that Nikki looks at things. I think it's also why she saw Adam for what he was. That's why Catherine had his number, knew he was a piece of shit in a way that everybody around him seems to have missed.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of sad that she's like, we'll mess with men, but we don't really depend on them for anything. That's kind of sad. I not loved, but like laughed out loud when she said, when Nikki said, well, if it's any consolation, I don't see color.
Oh, yeah, that's one of my favorite lines. I've heard that so much growing up, and I get this. I understand why people say that. Out of what's the word?
It comes from a place of wanting to say that I'm not a racist.
Yes, but that's not possible.
Right.
You do see color. You just don't see that color make you less than or something.
What you're really trying to say is that I don't look at black and brown people and see them as inferior to me. But if you say that and you really believe that you don't quote unquote see color, the other half of that is that you don't acknowledge the challenges and difficulties that black and brown people have in this world.
Well said. Well said. And she also said that I don't hate all women.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one. We're so hard on each other, but honestly, a lot of us are shitty to each other. But my soapbox that I will get on a million times in this life is that we're shitty to each other because we are in a world that does not reward female cooperation. We are taught from a very early age that we are competition for each other.
Yeah.
That there's a finite number of openings for women in the places of power. And so if someone gets that spot, then it's the spot that you can't have.
Yeah.
And that's what's fucked up about this world. There's more than 50% of us on this planet, but we feel like that there's only a limited number of spots that we can take up spaces of power. That's exactly the problem.
Yeah, I agree. So Nikki's worried that the press is making Chloe look bad, and she basically tells Catherine they need to do something to make Chloe look better. And I cringed when that came out, knowing that Sid has this Chloe sold Nikki out.
Yeah.
And I am hating
the better sister.
Yeah. Ugh, it sucks. So then she's back at the house, and she's fighting so hard not to have a drink. And I'm so proud of her here.
Yeah, that was a very, very powerful scene.
Yes.
Like, she was terrified of that drinks cart.
She was, yeah. And she calls Ken, and at first I think she's calling because she wants another Nate-esque escapade to take her mind off of it. But when she says, will you pray with me? I was like, oh my God, this woman, you know how I feel about prayer. And
I do. She desperately wanted to be sober. She wanted to hold on to her sobriety.
These two episodes brought out there's just very night and day from the way they portrayed her in the beginning to the way they're showing her now. And I'm grateful for it because they started painting Chloe in this great light. And now we're seeing Chloe for who she really is. Like I said, the directors and writers have this way of showing us these sisters going through the same situations or same things, but how they're
reacting very differently.
Very, very differently.
Yeah.
So I absolutely loved that with her.
That's why I'm not sure that beginning episode was her taking illicit pills that she shouldn't be taking, because I get the impression that the difference between Nikki now and Nikki from the flashbacks is that Nikki understands how important sobriety is, and she's serious about it now. Even when she relapses, she gets right back up on the wagon. Like, I
Yeah.
think that she genuinely has learned her lessons about what's important and what she has to lose if she doesn't stay clean. And so, yes, she has her moments where she relapses, but she immediately gets back up and starts working on her sobriety again. So that's why I'm just not sure that that scene that we saw in the beginning where she was going through the medicine cabinet and then went to the car and took the pills was exactly the way that it appears.
I think it was.
If it was, I think it was because she had just experienced something extremely traumatic and it was like this, where she had a momentary relapse. Not that that was the life that she was living.
Yo, definitely. I don't think it was I just am sitting here, there's pills around, I'm going to get high.
Yeah,
I think it was, she was using it as a crutch at that moment because
it may
when,
have been. Because I also think that she killed Adam. So I kind
yeah,
of think that's what she was trying to, if she was trying to escape, I feel like that was either she was involved or whatever, that she knew more than it was showing in that moment.
yeah,
But yeah, I think you definitely get a sense here from watching that brutal scene where she has to go and talk at the AA meeting and confess that she just fell off the wagon and all of that. Like, you get a sense of she's a much stronger person than you thought she was.
yeah. So Nikki and Chloe together, we talked already about Chloe and the antidepressants. And then, I thought Chloe was going to go to a good place with Nikki when she apologizes to her for taking her to the wake, that was definitely not the right decision to force her to go. And that's when Nikki said, I just wanted to eat gazpacho with you. That's why I think they
That really
named
hurt my heart.
that
Yeah.
episode Gazpacho.
Yeah, which would have made sense if that was quote was in that episode, but it did help me to understand better what it meant to Nikki.
Yeah. So Chloe tells her that she's okay if she wants to talk about what Nikki told her with their dad. But Nikki says, I've had enough of Hank today. And having sat through that whole weird thing at the bar, I'd had enough of Hank too.
Fuck Hank.
And Chloe gets mad and confronts Nikki about giving Ethan the phone and lying to her. And that brings up an argument about their lives being a lie and the things she said to Nikki about being nothing but constant drama and an empty hole. And Chloe still won't admit that she remembered what happened with their dad and makes a snide comment to try to act sober next time she sees Ethan and hate that they hide each other and walks away. I was like, oh, that was
I hate Chloe.
hashtag F Chloe.
Yeah.
So Nikki moves her crap into the guest house, which I think was
It was a great move.
a great move. And she was honest, with Chloe. I think, we need to give us some space. And then they both, again, same thing. They're both doing their hair, one while Chloe's doing it, or Nikki's doing her own hair while she's listening to Ken's audiobook, and Chloe's at the salon getting her hair done. So again, they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I just love those
Like, that's their
moments.
self-care, is doing things with their hairstyle. And
But they're experiencing these same things, but they're so angry at each other, and they've got this giant thick wall between it. If they would just break down that wall, they could do these things. They could enjoy their lives together.
right. It's maddening and frustrating, but it's also very realistic to
It
real
is.
life.
It is.
How many relatives do you have that like cannot get along? I don't know about you, but I can name a handful in my family, including me, with some of mine that like you cannot get along, but it's because you come from trauma and there is so much that you have in common and you both react to your trauma so similarly that it makes it impossible for you to really bond with each other. And it's sad, but that's very realistic.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So they are getting ready for the trial, and she admits that Chloe kind of is being very cryptic about that she knows Adam was trying to do something good about someone bad, and the FBI wants her to gain access. And Nikki drags it out of her, but she says, don't give them shit until they publicly state this could be what led to Adam getting killed, in an effort to
Yeah, I
help.
think Nikki's really excited about that idea, whether there's any reality to it or not, because it might get Ethan out of jail.
Yeah. And then on their way to the trial, oh God, the article drops and all the popo or paparazzi are shouting to Nikki about everything Chloe revealed. And man, the look of just absolute heartbreak on her face.
Betrayal.
If they are going to submit themselves for Emmys, I don't know if it's too late for this year, maybe next year, and they need an episode for Elizabeth Banks. This episode, I hope they submit that for her for Best Actress because holy cow.
Yeah, that was hard to watch.
It was. Anyway. All right. So the trial, Artie testifies that Ethan was a good, helpful kid and what a good person Chloe was. Kevin talks about how cool Ethan is, that he's like a brother, and he mentions the night suit under his bed. And I wonder if that's going to come back because he talked so much about that. I feel like there's something to that. And the fact that Ethan put it on after his dad was dead.
I have a theory.
Yeah?
Well, I don't think it's so much about the suit. I think that Ethan sees himself as a protector of his mother. I feel like what's going to come out is that Adam was more abusive. I think I've told you this before. I think Adam was abusive to both these women. And I think what's going to come out is that he saw himself as a protector of his mother. And that's like the night thing. He took that very seriously.
I believe that. I can buy into that. Guidry says Ethan wasn't surprised when they came to tell him that Adam was dead. The headmaster told Ethan that Adam wanted to send him to military school, which was new information. Yeah. And Ethan said he would find a way to stop him. But here is the bomb that gets dropped on us. Ethan testifies, and Chloe implied that he wasn't to talk to Nikki, telling him she's no good, stay away from her. And the prosecutor paints that Adam and Chloe Winky Fingers broke him, and boy, I don't like that guy. I don't like that guy at all.
No, that prosecutor, the actor's doing a great job because he's really coming across as a smarmy asshole.
He's making me hate him. Hashtag fuck the prosecutor.
Well, Chloe will if she gets in a even vaguely stressful situation. So,
Chloe or Nikki?
Chloe, well, either. Actually, that seems to be something that they both enjoy. So,
like I said, I mean, these two have a lot in common. Tear down the wall, and get to know each other.
You like to bang strangers when you're even vaguely uncomfortable. So do I.
Oh my God! All right, Ethan admits that he was the one sending them hate messages to and about Chloe and Adam as Kurt Lomaine.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes out that he says she'd be better off if he were gone, and that sometimes Adam wanted her gone. Okay, here's something. Michelle is sitting there with her, I guess, co-worker,
co-counsel,
going through the trial, and she's ignoring calls from Chloe's cyber guy. And then it comes out that Guidry's cyber people figured out Ethan was the one sending the hate mail and stuff. So I wonder if the cyber guy calling to give her a heads up that this information about Ethan was out there, and she just completely ignored the call and was surprised, blindsided when the prosecution brought it up because she didn't answer her phone.
I don't know. Yeah, I missed that. I totally missed it. She missed a call from him.
Yeah, she said it was her cyber guy, and she just kind of brushed it off. So I was like,
was she like in the middle of I don't know how I missed that. I've watched this episode 3 times.
Yeah, she was talking. She was going over the board with
Oh, gotcha.
Her
Okay. And so she
co-counsel
probably just thought
guy.
it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I bet I have a feeling that's
She's
going to
gonna
come up
regret
next
that.
episode because she dropped the
Yeah.
ball there for sure.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. One note about the Borat seems hell-bent on trying to get the logs from Ethan's burner phone, which makes me go back to thinking, okay, evidence is probably going to come out that Kevin had something to do with this.
Maybe. I just think that the thing I notice about that is just the difference between him and Guidry, who Guidry is, you would think, like, she obviously seems like a good detective, but she seems like the one that is more blinded by her prejudices. And he seems like he's still trying to figure out who did it, whereas she's just already decided.
She's made up her mind.
Guidry, like, that's one of the things you know about her character is that she is very know-it-all, and she's very obviously showing a lot of like bias towards whatever it is that she decides from the outset makes the most sense, which is, kind of goes to her whole thing about her prejudice against other women and things like that. She has blind spots.
Yeah. I want to finish.
Me too.
I will, before we dive into the rest of the podcast, I will say kudos to both of us that we have not gone forward and binged this. I am so proud of the both of us.
Like 4 or 5 times
really
this week, I've been like, I'm going to go ahead and watch the next. And I was like, oh, God, we have to podcast about the last 2.
That's what I kept saying. I said the same thing. I was like, oh, I want to go ahead and watch the next 2 episodes. And I'm like, nope, you have to podcast first. Then you can go watch.
Because I don't want to be influenced by anything.
I don't either. Yeah. I want this to be organic, and we don't know what's coming next. So
right.
All right. Well, that's all I have for episodes 4 and 5. Anything else you want to add?
No, I'm good. Hold on. Let me just go through because I wrote down again, it was very hard to make notes about these episodes. So I just kind of kept a running commentary of the things that I was experiencing in real time. And I thought it might be funny to just read them out loud. The first note is, you bear the burden of your choices and move on because sitting still will kill you. I honestly thought that was pretty astute.
Mm-hmm.
When the God... Charles Bukowski guy, whoever that was in the bar, I thought that was a pretty great thing. And then I just wrote this mofo's chest, which I am
Jake
very certain was about Jake, right? And mofo's chest is in all capital letters.
She just showed me it is in all caps.
And then I just said, I just wanted to eat gazpacho with you because that kind of hit my heart.
Yeah.
There have been many times in my life where my sister and I found each other at odds with each other. And it's really tragic because at the end of the day, we both want the same thing. It's just sometimes life is just really complex. And then I wrote, who doesn't check the contraband list? Yeah, like when she's coming in and she's like gonna take snacks to Jake and she's acting all crazy because the guards
Chloe.
are like,
what does she know about visiting somebody in jail?
Obviously, like, I know they try to set up that she is a bit privileged and out of touch with the reality, but come on now, man. That's crazy to me.
It didn't surprise me. If Nikki had done it, I would have been surprised.
And then I wrote Primrose, it's me and you, Becky.
It is.
Which we already mentioned. LOL, damn it, I'm Team Tasty's mom. Because as we discussed, Catherine, the actress that played Lorraine Hansberry, she played, was it Lorraine Hansberry? Is that her name?
It's Lorraine something.
No, it can't be Lorraine. Lorraine Toussaint. I'm so sorry. Lorraine Hansberry was a playwright who wrote A Raisin in the Sun back in the 50s and has been dead for many years. Either way, I'm Team Tasty's stepmom because when she was talking about how crazy it was, the way that white women treat each other, and she said, I don't see color. I just thought that was one of the funniest things in this entire series. And then I said, I love how Ethan is reading those tweets. And rather than just like read them out unemotionally, he was giving it all.
He was performing.
I think he should be killed. And I'm like, Ethan, you ain't doing yourself any good here, bud.
Yeah.
Like, maybe emote less. Act like this is the first time you've seen this shit.
He knew what was coming. He was just like, it's
I
out there.
guess. Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's the last things I want to contribute.
That's funny. All right. Well, moving into miscalculation, I'll say it once again. I was wrong.
No, Becky, we don't have to do this. I feel like you have already admitted that you almost never know what you're talking about, and I almost do. I almost always do.
Oh, that's what wow. Okay, so we were discussing how these two sisters see the same thing very differently. This is a prime example of that. And I'm going to call you Chloe, and I'm going to call me Nikki.
You take that back. Don't you ever call me Chloe.
I just did, which is actually my niece's name, and she's a sweetheart.
It's a beautiful name, but I'm not that Chloe.
Okay, Chloe.
Oh, my God.
All right, so before Mandy jumps through this screen and kills me, I did not look at any show notes and news again to avoid spoilers. We did get some feedback, and I apologize. I missed most of this feedback before we started recording last week's episode, so I've added it to this week. Mandy, you want to start us off?
Via YouTube on episode 1, we've got at Linda1541. Linda, we love you, miss you.
Woo.
I thought it was strange, too, that the cop said that Ethan had to live with Nikki. Thank you, Linda. How do they know that she didn't lose custody of him due to drugs? The courts may have awarded full custody to the father. Yeah, I just thought that was a crazy thing for them to already know. And to be so insistent on enforcing that just did not seem like what two homicide cops would be involved in. But
yeah, it was weird. But I'm writing it off to we had to have a reason to get Nikki here. And for whatever reason, the show thought they needed to move the plot forward.
Yeah, I just think it was, and it was kind of clunky.
Yeah,
I love the series very much, but I feel like that was kind of a clunky choice. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
So via Facebook on episodes 2 and 3, Linda says, I just finished episodes 2 and 3. I almost wasn't going to continue watching it. I wasn't sure if I liked it, but I gave it a chance, and now I love it. Yay! I can't wait to hear your podcast. I know I'll pick up what I missed from you ladies. I'm old and sometimes I miss a few details.
Oh, Linda.
Linda.
So
love you.
We all need each other, Linda. We're not exactly spring chickens. Via Instagram on episodes 4 and 5, Linda writes, a lot happened in these episodes. I still think Ethan is innocent. Same-ish. I don't know. I read a review online that said Jake recommended a bad lawyer to sabotage the case.
Ooh.
I don't know. Ooh. I don't know if that's what happened, but I don't trust Jake. I can't wait for your podcast. I'm the same Linda from Facebook and YouTube. Yeah, I think we knew that, Linda.
That's because I asked her that.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I always assumed.
Yeah, I love her.
There's just not enough Lindas in the world these days. I just assumed that it was the same one.
I want to say before I comment on your last little thing there, because I think it plays into something we discussed at the end of the episode coverage. Linda, thank you for sticking with us. She's our ride or die. And I appreciate you having enough faith in our taste in television to take this leap with us and to watch this.
That means a lot.
It does. It really, when I saw the feedback, I was like, oh my gosh, Linda's with us. So thank you for that. I am interested in that Jake recommending a bad lawyer to sabotage the case. I don't know why Jake would do that, but it makes me think, did Michelle purposely blow off the cyber guy so that all of that evidence about Ethan and those messages came to light?
Maybe. But I just don't get that impression from Gloria Rubin in the way that she's been portrayed so far. Like, I would be very shocked, honestly, if it turned out that she was just a really shitty lawyer.
Yeah, we'll see. Because God knows who knows what's going to happen with the show, except for everyone else that's finished it but us.
Right. Except for everyone else.
Everyone else. Yes. Yeah. So we got a couple of voicemails from our dear friend Steve Brown. Let's listen to what he has to say about episode 4.
Hello, Becky and Mandy. This is Steve, and this is going to be for The Better Sisters, Season 1, Episode 4. If I can get my stupid Fire TV to act right. So frustrating. What's it called? Gazpacho? Okay, so this is a funeral for their dad? And, of course, Nikki is late, and Chloe, is it Chloe, that's her name, is having a vision of her father? Hey, weird dream, and now it's the morning. Warren Zevon's Werewolves of London. He is baking. And so now Nikki is just now finding out that people don't know that Ethan is her son. All right, so Catherine is starting to show who she really is, that she's more concerned about the face of the company. Okay, I know I voted in the poll. There was a little bit of both, but I'm pretty sure Catherine's now all about herself. Adam's body is already being released so she can have it cremated. And you're humble, Chloe, as well as being perfect in every way, right? And now Chloe's getting into her boyfriend's phone to see if I never can read text on TVs. Okay, I just from knowing TV shows, this guy in Nikki's group who just gave her a cigarette, he's somebody. Oh, dude shaved off his mustache. Good for him. Not shaving mine off, though. No. Oh, so Nan is a baseball coach, and Ethan's not faring well in prison. Could the doorman have been the one who killed Adam? I mean, didn't he say he used to drive Ethan around? Oh, and now Chloe's hallucinating Adam. Oh, Elizabeth Banks just said gazpacho. Title of the episode, mic drop. And she said gazpacho again. Another mic drop. I'm not going to keep doing it. They keep repeating gazpacho because that's just a weird word. Oh, so their father was a abuser and a predator, and Chloe's blocked it out. Drunk or not, still a predator. Oh, the story at the beginning of the episode about the locks on the doors. That's why locks on the doors. Yeah, there it is again. Gazpacho. Okay, mic drop. And they're pushing Chloe out from the magazine. Oh, Nikki had a panic attack, and now she's having a martini. Nate, the waiter. Vibes. Wakes make people horny. Ooh. Once again, I said I can't ever read text on television. So I don't know what that text from Michelle Sanders just said to Chloe. And now Chloe's sharing a cigarette with the reporter. Not a good idea. Now Nikki's going to get her some with Nate, the waiter, in the back of the catering van. Oh, so who's watching the house? Some federal agency? You can tell from the business card. All right, on to episode 5.
And now let's hear what he's got to say about episode 5.
Hey, Becky and Mandy, this is Steven. I'm watching Better Sister episode 5, Just Ask, and I did a live Steve of it, but something was wrong with my recording, so I'm just gonna send you a voice message when I finish the episode. But I do want you to know I'm watching it, and it's been really great so far. So yeah. Where are these reporters getting this information? But, I'm towards the end of the episode now, but gosh, wow. I also had a moment where I thought maybe the doorman could have been the killer. Of course, now we're watching the trial, and the doorman just testified, and now Kevin's testifying. Okay, so just finished the episode. There was a whole bunch of stuff earlier in the episode. They really did a time jump or something, because didn't they say the trial was going to be weeks away? And now, oh, shoot. My sister is here. Anyway. Sorry about that. Can't wait to hear you guys talk about this one and clear up some of the things that I missed. And, obviously there's a bunch of stuff in this episode. The reveal that, that Adam was talking to some sort of federal agent. Never did figure out what agency they were from because I couldn't read the business card. I don't know if they're FBI or SEC or what, but they're special agents of something. And so that obviously had something to do with the Kimchi group. And, obviously the doorman's got a wicked obsession with his family. So who knows? He's a suspect. It still could be Kevin or Ethan. Anyway, can't wait till you guys talk about these two. Talk to you later.
Oh, Steve, I love your messages. As always, thank you so very much for sending us your thoughts, and always great. And can't wait to hear what you think about these next 2 episodes coming up. All right, so last week's poll results. Mandy, what we got?
Do you think Catherine has Chloe's best interest at heart? No, she's all about the Benjamins, baby. Or, yes, she really seems to care about her. Or maybe both. 100% of the votes say maybe both. And honestly, I still feel that way.
So yeah, after these last 2 episodes, I definitely think she's looking out for herself and her company. But I do believe that she genuinely does care a lot about Chloe.
I think she's at least the most honest of everybody here. Like, she has been very clear. I like you. I'm on your side, but I got to take care of business too.
Yep. So this week's poll, who at this point do you think is the killer? Is it Ethan, Chloe, Nikki, or Kevin? Let us know.
Ooh.
Or is it Nikki's imagination, like Mandy thinks?
Is it the old man drunk god dude? Is it one of the
Papa.
many ghosts?
It's
Is it one of the
Papa.
many ghosts that keep visiting?
Oh, God. Okay. If you would like to get in touch with us, leave some feedback, or just say hi, you can email or send us a voice message as an attachment to what's on tonight in the number 2 at gmail.com. You can visit our Facebook page where there will be a post for the next episode, and you can leave feedback in the comment section or send us a message through Facebook Messenger. We can be found on Instagram as well at What's On Tonight Podcast in the number 2. We would greatly appreciate it if you'd leave a review, comment, like, and or share on your podcast listening app of choice. So how about we have a slice of bread and some coffee in the Hamptons with the sisters and talk about where else listeners can find us, podcast recommendations, good TV or movies, or anything else you want to share? What do you got, Mandy?
I don't really have much this week. It's been a busy week for me. We had a loss in my family, and I took up a lot of my time. And I don't have a new Dinner for Her podcast this week, although I would strongly like to promote anybody that's listening to this. Please go check out Dinner for Her podcast on Facebook and find me on all of the places that you enjoy listening to podcasts. I want to say that last episode about Ida Wells Barnett really changed my life, truly.
I finally got to listen. It was so good. Eye-opening.
The things that woman did for our country that she does not get credit for is horrifying, but also for anybody that is looking for motivation and something to feel positive about. Her story is a story about a person who was just a person who was born into very challenging circumstances and could have, for many reasons, just been a footnote in history. But she got up and fought through phenomenal odds to do something about the evil that she saw in this world. And I think we need more of that. We're living in a time, much like Ida's, where a lot of our rights are either actively being rolled back or our government is trying desperately to roll those rights back. And that was very similar to the reality that Ida lived in. But instead of giving into despair and, just tucking her tail between her legs, did the research to prove this is what's going on, and really walked the walk in the history of this world. And so I just find her very inspiring. But yeah, that's all I got for this week as far as podcasts go.
All right. Well, Alex and Ben are back with the cast of us, The Walking Dead, Dead City. They just covered the last episode that was out, and they are, like I said before, they are the male versions of me and Mandy. So if you like that show or just really want some funny banter, give them a listen. And also, please check out our continuing coverage of Poker Face with Murder Magnets. I want to give a big thank you to Mark and Pirate Core Entertainment for giving us this platform. Please visit the Pirate Core website. You can find it on our Facebook page. There you can find our podcast as well as other podcasts like Panels to Pixels, Adrenaline Cinema, and Dinner for Her with our very own Mandy. And you can find other projects that Mark is working on.
Well, that wraps up our coverage of episodes 4 and 5 of The Better Sister. We will be back next to cover episodes 6 and 7, titled Steadying Hand and Back from Red.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Whatever you do it with passion. Learn new things, set new standards. If you fall down, get up. Just get going nonstop. This is how dreams come true. I'm Nikki.
And I am not Chloe, but I am Mandy.
We'll catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight. Bye.